Real Enigmas and Theories is back again with another video.
If the review is to take longer than 4 hours, there will be a break for lunch, with the order taken in advance.
Well, I hope that won't be necessary.
Here is the lunch menu.
Now, y'all know that was cold as hell. Milchick thought he was going to be getting up out of that meeting, and Evil Hodor was like, "Here's the lunch menu, because I'm going to keep you here, and we going to cook you up in here, buddy. You're too uppity with those big-minded words you've been using." So we seen Milchick go back down to the severed floor and talk to Mark in the elevator, up close and very personal. I'm guessing that this was his first step in tightening the leash, as he put it. I wonder what type of energy he's gonna have for Miss Wong, knowing that it was her that filed those complaints about him. We caught her spying on Milchick when he spoke with Dylan about the Any family meeting room. She totally went and opened that door. We could also tell that she didn't know about Helena's plan to get with Mark at the Ortbo. She probably didn't even know that it was Helena instead of Helly. Look at her vibe when she brings Helly back to the office.
Is she?
Her Any.
I even sensed a little bit of sincerity in her tone. She had a little bit of confidence when she said that it was the Any. So if Milchick is tightening the leash, then I'm willing to bet that Wong is on his shit list. I mean, because how you going to report somebody for using big words and some damn paper clips? And we know that she was petty with those minor complaints, but I think she was also who gave them every single point made in his evaluation. Like I said, we already caught her spying on him, and the way Evil Hodor named off Milchick's offenses, it was like he didn't even know that some of those acts of kindness had even occurred. I'm sure that Milchick would have had to get approval to bring Dylan's wife to the severed floor, but she might be an employee at Lumon, so there's that. And we do know that Miss Wong was fully aware of that perk for Dylan, and she seemed to keep that secret from the other refiners as well. And speaking of that family meeting room, I find it ironic that it was remodeled in the security room where Dylan initiated the OTC. Kind of makes me wonder where the security room was moved to. And wherever it is now, that's where whoever Milchick was speaking to on the walkie. Is there a new security person to replace Grainer, or was it somebody that we already met in that security room? I suspected it was Evil Hodor, but he also mentions how this fiasco also brought great shame to the Eagan name. And it makes me wonder if him using the term father means that he himself is also an Eagan. And maybe at one point he brought shame to the Eagan name, and that's why he's been branded with the tattoo of Frolic. I don't know. I'm not too sure about this, being that if you've been branded for bringing shame to the Eagan name, how would you end up having more power than the next person in line where you could just tell them what to do? I also found it ironic that Helly was pressing Mark about not realizing if it wasn't her when she just got done fooling everybody at that event into thinking that she was her outie. I mean, in her mind, this just happened a couple minutes ago, and she shouldn't really be surprised on the difficulty in realizing who's who. Don't get me wrong, Helena was terrible at trying to act like Helly, but in Mark's defense, he was focused on finding Miss Casey because in his mind, he had just found out that that was his outie's wife. So Mark doesn't really trust anybody at this point, and rightfully so. I mean, Helly was really Helena, and they just did the marshmallow mash twice. Then you got weird newspapers and bullshit like that, random pop-up field trips, stop motion animations that low-key tell you that you're still being listened to and watched. I mean, if you saw a stop motion animation of yourself running through the hallways and some eyes pop out and tell you to stop running, you'd be like,
I was just running in the halls when I got off the elevator. Is this motherfucker trying to tell me that they got eyes in the hallway watching me?
And then you got Dylan, who's really pissing me off right about now, because he's acting like he's mad at Mark for pulling away from the group, but he's too busy keeping his secret about his outie's wife coming to visit that he's so stupid that he can't see that Mark is just trying to lay low and play slow real quick. And you got to understand that Mark's little young Any mind has been thrusted into maturity. No more farting during the morning announcements and Eagan bingo. You know, it's fuck those balloons. My Audi's wife is down here. I got some for the first time, but the motherfucker tricked me. I got a lot of shit going on. And speaking of having a lot going on, I don't trust Bert at all. I mean, I didn't even trust him as any because he had lied about how many was in his department in the first place. I mean, how you gonna invite somebody over to your crib and then tell them how much money to spend on wine? I'd have been like, look, motherfucker, I'll bring some Welch's grape up in this bitch. You can make believe with this shit like it's communion or something. I'll bring some Wild Irish Rose in this motherfucker. Some Thunderbird or some Cisco or some shit. Boy, you better sit down somewhere telling me how much I gotta spend on wine. One thing is, I hope Irv is strapped when he goes over there. Pause. Because I don't trust Bert, Ernie, or Fields. And what type of name is Fields? Imagine the doctor says, congratulations, you have a healthy baby boy. What are you going to name him? And then the mom looks at the baby and says,
Fields.
And the doc is like, Fields? All right, nurse, you heard what she said. Write that shit down and let's get out of here. Shit, you catch a motherfucker spying on you and then he tells you how much to spend on wine. That's a red flag. A red flag for some red wine. Get Bert and Fields the fuck up out of here. Irv, be careful when you go over there. Now, we've got to talk about the elephant in the room, which is my last video. Yo, go to the comments and look at how many people are saying I'm wrong about the quarters. But I'm getting a lot of love in there too. But I'll just say this. I've been wrong before. And people have scoffed at my theories and I've ended up being right as well. So there's that. But one thing I didn't see much dispute about was the core principle about my theory. And that's the fact that I laid out about how Kier might not be the originator of Lumon. I mean, we're talking about a guy who has a whole religion built around him. He's got a town named after him and many other things. One thing that I noticed while editing the last video was that Kier started Lumon Industries in the city of Kier. Now, how did he have a town named after him at that stage of the company? I mean, the story behind this man is really starting to unravel as far as I'm concerned. I don't know if you see it, but I'm starting to see some holes in this logic. And not just holes, the whole shit might be fake. And if that's true, who's really running things? Kier Eagan being an anagram for AI generated, well, hear me out, y'all. This theory gets real wild. And if you're liking this video so far, go ahead and do all that dope YouTube stuff for me. Now let's get back to it. Now, Dieter's name scrambling into AI generated isn't just another egg reference. The name is also a reference to the chemical diethyl ether. And Kier is said to have worked at an ether factory. To me, it's beginning to look a lot like an AI has fabricated the entire Lumon story. An AI that was created by a secret society to slowly take over control of the planet. Just hear me out. Ether or diethyl ether was historically used as an anesthetic. It's known for inducing disassociation, memory loss, and altered states of consciousness. All of those themes align with the severance procedure as well. Now, a lot of people have just been overlooking this, but I've been talking about this, about Kier doing the skin salve and being a snake oil salesman. And I think that there's a possibility that he could have incorporated ether into his early products as an experimental ingredient. Given ether's numbing and psychoactive properties, it's possible that Lumon's first products were not just medicinal, but an early form of chemical behavior control. This raises the possibility that Kier's interest in ether and neurological effects extended far beyond medicine. We do know that he served as a medical doctor, and all of this wrapped up could have been the foundation for the severance technology that we later see developed by Lumon. And if Lumon has been controlled by a hidden power structure or an advanced AI system, then the entire Eagan legacy could just be a front given to a human face or an organization that is no longer run by people. This would explain why the board remains unseen and why Kier is treated like an untouchable deity. It also suggests that Kier's not real and might not have even been the founder or just some kind of chosen figurehead, one manufactured to lead a whole bigger agenda. This is why you see the multiple businesses and things named after his legacy, like the Pips Diner and whatnot. Additionally, this whole thing was founded in 1865, right when the Civil War ended. And the word salve is an anagram for slave. Now, the word slave is significant because the corporate control over the severed employees mimics a form of indentured servitude. This means that Kier's whole gift to the world thing was more like a sophisticated version of absolute control disguised as this technological breakthrough. And if you look at how Lumon's structure is, it operates just like these secret societies. It even has hints of esoteric mysticism within it. You have the use of rituals, initiations, and symbolic language within Lumon. And the idea of separating the mind into different states of consciousness aligns with ancient spiritual practices where initiates would undergo transformation through a controlled experience. Now, if Lumon's origins date back centuries, as my quarter system suggests, then Kier's role may have just been a thing to transition this ancient order to a corporate age. Rather than founding Lumon from nothing, someone was assisted or had some sort of controlled puppet ensuring that the true ruling entity, whether it's an AI or a secret council, remain hidden. Because if Kier is the true founder of Lumon Industries, why didn't he name it after himself, or at least Eagan Industries? I mean, men of his stature, especially those who built cult-like followings behind themselves, typically immortalize their names within their legacies. We see this with industrial men like Ford, Rockefeller, Carnegie, Vanderbilt, even Trump Towers. I mean, they ensured their names would forever be linked to their empire. But in Kier's case, his name was already ingrained in the town itself long before Lumon existed. That means that his name was already cemented in history, separate from the company. So that raises the question, if Kier is truly in control, why wouldn't he unify his name with his company as well? I mean, look at Milton Hershey. He got his school sitting right there in Hershey, Pennsylvania. Hershey Factories is right there in Hershey, Pennsylvania. The fact that he chose or was forced to use the name Lumon instead of Eagan Industries suggests that Lumon's origins may predate his leadership, or that he was never the true architect of its purpose in the first place. Think about it. Look at the name Lumon itself. It bears no direct connection to Kier's ego, his family, personal philosophy, or anything. It more resembles esoteric terminology, evoking the illumination, hidden knowledge, secret power, concepts that are deeply embedded into Freemasonry and other secret societies. In fact, the name Lumon is the exact opposite of Kier, which means the dark one. And if the town was already named Kier when he founded Lumon, that implies that his name had already been established in a greater historical context, but not by his own doing. This would support the idea that he was chosen to lead this organization that already existed in some form or another. They have a whole song that says Kier, chosen one Kier. So they definitely are talking about someone chose this guy. Who chose him? The continued influence of the board, which is an entity that literally holds more power than the Eagan family itself, puts more gravy on the rice when you think about Kier being a figurehead instead of the actual originator of Lumon's agenda. So in my mind, I'm seeing you have the Eagans, but I'm also seeing that you have Lumon, and I'm just starting to see them as two separate things that came together to work in tandem. I'll leave you with this last note. The name Kier Eagan and Dieter Eagan are an anagram for generate a Kier DNA age. That's crazy. So if you rock with this video and you vibing with what I'm putting down, go ahead, do all that dope YouTube stuff for me by tapping that screen a couple of times, liking, sharing, and getting ready to drop down in the comments. Yo, share this video to somebody who watches Severance and you think they'll get a kick out of this. And if you're new to this channel, welcome. And if you're not subscribed already, hopefully this will be the video to make you do it. Anyway, just a little something to think about while we wait on the next episode. That's all for my video today. I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.